You're embarrassing me in front of important people. The red wine hit my face like a slap, cold and sharp, dripping down my navy suit onto the polished marble floor of the Grand Continental Hotel in Lagos. 300 guests gasped in unison. Cameras flashed. Someone's phone was already recording. My wife Amara stood over me, her gold Ankara gown shimmering under the chandeliers, her perfectly painted lips twisted in disgust. "Get out," she hissed. "You don't belong here with successful people." I didn't move, couldn't move. The wine soaked through my shirt, staining my skin red like shame. Around us, Lagos's business elite whispered behind champagne glasses. I recognized faces from the newspapers. CEOs, politicians, socialites. This was Amara's moment. Her $800 million real estate deal with Zenith Continental Group. The biggest contract of her career, and she just publicly destroyed me. "Amara, please," I said quietly. "Let's talk outside." "Talk?" She laughed, loud and cruel. "What could you possibly have to say that matters? You're a nobody, Chidi, a struggling architect who can barely afford his own office rent. I brought you here as a courtesy because we're still married." "Barely." The man beside her stepped forward. "Tunde Fashola. I knew him too. Successful developer, always in the society pages with a different woman." He put his hand on Amara's waist possessively, and my stomach turned. "Amara, is this man bothering you?" Tunde asked, his voice dripping with false concern. "He's my husband," she said flatly. "For now." The crowd murmured louder. I saw phones raised, recording everything. By tomorrow, this would be all over social media. The humiliated husband at his wife's triumph. What would you do if your own spouse publicly destroyed you at their moment of glory? Viewers, before we dive deeper into this incredible story of betrayal and revenge, please do me a favor and help subscribe to African Tales Vault right now. Drop a like on this video. It actually helps more than you think. And comment below where you're watching from. Are you in New York, London, Jamaica, Accra, Toronto? I want to know. I stood slowly, wine still dripping from my chin. "Congratulations on your deal, Amara." "Don't patronize me," she snapped. "You're jealous. You've always been jealous of my success because you can't achieve anything yourself." That wasn't true. But how could I tell her? How could I explain that the past 2 years of our marriage falling apart, her late nights, her dismissive comments, her growing distance, had coincided perfectly with my secret? The secret I'd kept from everyone, including her. I was the silent majority shareholder of Zenith Continental Group, the company she'd just signed her $800 million deal with, the company that would make or break her career, and I owned 55% of it. "I should go," I said. "Yes, you should." Amara turned her back to me, linking her arm through Tunde's. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disruption. Let's continue celebrating this historic partnership." Applause erupted. Someone started music. The party resumed as if I'd never existed. I walked through the crowd toward the exit, feeling every eye on me, hearing every whisper. The hotel lobby was cooler, quieter. My driver Solomon waited by the entrance, his face tight with anger. "Oga Chidi, I saw what happened," he said. "That woman has gone too far." "It's fine, Solomon." "It's not fine, sir. She disrespected you in front of everyone." I climbed into the back seat of my modest Honda. Not the flashy cars I could afford, but the kind a struggling architect would drive. I'd played this role for 2 years, watching Amara climb higher and higher, watching her forget where she came from, watching her fall into Tunde Fashola's arms while thinking I was too weak to notice. My phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer, Ngozi. "I saw the video. It's already trending. Are you ready to do what we discussed?" I stared at the message for a long moment. 2 years of humiliation. 2 years of watching my wife build her career on my silent support while openly despising me. 2 years of her affair with Tunde, thinking I was too pathetic to leave her. But I had been patient. I had been strategic. And now, with her signature fresh on that $800 million contract, the trap was set. I typed back, "Monday morning, file everything." Tomorrow was Saturday. Amara would spend the weekend celebrating her triumph, probably in Tunde's bed at his Victoria Island penthouse. She'd enjoy her moment of glory, Because on Monday, when she walked into her first official meeting with Zenith Continental Group, she would discover that the company she'd just partnered with was owned by the nobody husband she'd humiliated. And she would learn that the contract she'd signed contained clauses she'd never bothered to read carefully. Clauses that gave me complete control over her company's operations, finances, and future. Solomon pulled away from the hotel. Through the window, I could see the party continuing inside, bright and loud and careless. "Where to, sir?" Solomon asked. "Home," I said. "I have a lot to prepare." My phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from Marcus, my COO at Zenith Continental. "The board is ready, Monday, 9th a.m. Should we send the car for Mrs. Okafor?" I smiled for the first time that night. No, let her drive herself. She'll need the time to think. As we drove through Lagos's glittering nighttime traffic, I thought about the moment Amara would realize the truth. The moment her perfect world would crack. The moment she'd understand that the man she'd poured wine on was the same man who now held her entire career in his hands. I didn't want to destroy her. Despite everything, I'd loved her once. Maybe part of me still did, but she'd made her choice. She'd chosen humiliation over loyalty. She'd chosen Tunde over our marriage. She'd chosen pride over love. Now she would learn that pride comes before a fall. And in Lagos, when you fall from a height of $800 million, everyone watches. What do you think Chidi should do next? Should he destroy Amara's career or show mercy? Comment below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story's just getting started. What revenge would you plan if you were in Chidi's shoes? Let me know. The weekend passed like a funeral. I stayed in our Ikoyi mansion, the one Amara thought we could barely afford, the one she complained about being too modest for her new status. She didn't come home Friday night, or Saturday. Her Instagram stories told me everything. Champagne on a yacht, Tundi's arm around her waist. Hashtags like rock power couple and new beginnings and leveling up. The comments were brutal. "Where's your husband? Didn't he just get humiliated yesterday?" She upgraded. That old man couldn't handle a boss woman anyway. I read every comment, felt every word like another splash of wine on my face, but I didn't respond, didn't react, just waited. Sunday morning, I sat in my home office, the room Amara never entered because your little architecture projects bore me, and reviewed the documents one final time. The contract she'd signed was 47 pages long. She'd read maybe 5 of them, the ones about payment schedules and project timelines. She'd missed the important pages, the ones about decision-making authority, operational control, and partnership dissolution terms. She'd missed the clause that said, if any partner was found to be operating in bad faith or conflict of interest, Zenith Continental Group had the right to assume complete control of said partner's company assets for the duration of the contract, which was 15 years. She'd missed the clause about mandatory board representation, meaning I could place my own people on her company's board immediately. She'd missed everything that mattered, because Amara had stopped seeing me years ago. I'd become invisible to her, just a weak husband she kept around out of habit or pity, or maybe just laziness. She hadn't bothered to wonder why a struggling architect could afford this house, this life, these things she took for granted. My phone rang, my mother. "Chidi, the whole of Lagos is talking," Mama said without greeting. "That video of Amara pouring wine on you has been shared 50,000 times. My friends are calling me, asking if we raised you to be so weak. What is happening?" "Mama, it's complicated." "Complicated?" Her voice rose. "Your wife humiliated you publicly and you just walked away. Your father would never." "Papa is dead, Mama." The words came out harder than I intended. "And what Amara did to me is nothing compared to what I'm about to do to her." Silence on the line. Then, "What are you talking about?" "You'll see tomorrow. Just trust me." "Chidi, revenge is not the African way. Revenge is not what I taught you. You taught me dignity, Mama. You taught me respect. Amara has taken both from me in front of the whole world. Tomorrow she'll learn that dignity has a price." I hung up before she could argue further. I love my mother, but she came from a generation that believed women should endure anything to keep their marriages. I'd endured enough. Sunday evening, Amara finally came home. I heard her heels clicking on the marble floor, heard her laughing on the phone, heard her say, "I'll see you tomorrow, baby," before she hung up. The word baby wasn't meant for me. She found me in the living room, reading a book about commercial real estate law. Ironic, considering what was coming. "Oh, you're here," she said, surprised. "I thought you'd gone to hide at your mother's house." "This is my house, Amara." "Our house." She corrected me automatically, then shrugged. "Well, not for much longer." "What does that mean?" She sat down across from me, crossing her legs elegantly. Even after everything, she was beautiful. Sharp cheekbones, smooth dark skin, eyes that used to look at me with love. Now they held only contempt. "It means I want a divorce," she said simply. "I'm filing papers this week. I've already spoken to my lawyer." "Because of Tunde?" "Because of me." She leaned forward. "Chidi, I've outgrown you. You're a good man, but you're small. Small dreams, small ambitions, small life. I need someone who matches my energy. Someone who operates at my level." "Your level," I repeated. "Yes, I'm about to become one of the most powerful developers in West Africa. This Zenith Continental deal is just the beginning. I'll be managing $800 million in projects, working with international investors, building commercial complexes in 5 countries. I need a partner who understands that world. Tundi understands. And I don't. You barely understand how to keep your little architecture firm afloat. No offense, but you've been struggling for years while I've been rising. It's natural that we'd grow apart." I closed my book carefully. "When did you start sleeping with him?" She didn't flinch. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." "Fine. 8 months ago, at a conference in Abuja, he made me feel seen, Chidi. He made me feel powerful. You make me feel like I'm dragging a weight behind me." 8 months. While I'd been working 16-hour days building Zenith Continental into the powerhouse it was. While I'd been strategically positioning the company to offer her this exact deal. While I'd been hoping that success might bring her back to me. "I see," I said. "You're taking this well." She sounded almost disappointed. "I expected more drama." "Would drama change anything?" "No, but at least it would show some fight." She stood up. "Anyway, I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I have my first official meeting with the Zenith Continental executive team. After that, I'll be busy for a while, so let's keep things civil, okay? We can divide everything quietly. You can keep this house. I'm moving in with Tunde anyway." "How generous of you." "Don't be bitter, Chidi. It's unattractive." She walked toward the stairs, then paused. "Oh, and that video from Friday? My PR team is spinning it as me standing up to a jealous, controlling husband. By next week, I'll be a feminist icon and you'll be yesterday's news. Just thought you should know." She went upstairs. I heard the guest room door close. I sat in the dark living room for a long time, thinking about 8 months ago, thinking about all the nights she'd come home late, smelling like expensive cologne, thinking about how I'd known but said nothing because I'd been waiting, planning, building my case. Tomorrow, Amara would walk into Zenith Continental's headquarters expecting to meet some faceless executives. Instead, she'd walk into a boardroom and see me sitting at the head of the table. She'd see my name on the ownership documents. She'd see her entire future sitting in my hands. And then she'd understand what real power looked like. My phone buzzed with a message from Ngozi, my lawyer. "Divorce papers ready. Also prepared the countersuit for adultery and defamation based on Friday's video. Your call on when to file." I typed back, "Wait until after tomorrow's meeting. I want her to see everything at once." Tomorrow would be the longest day of Amara's life. Tomorrow, the woman who thought she'd outgrown me would learn that she'd actually been living in my shadow all along. Tomorrow, I would stop being invisible. I went to my study and pulled out a bottle of whiskey, Macallan 18, the kind Amara said we couldn't afford. I'd bought it 3 years ago when I'd closed my first major Zenith Continental deal. I'd been saving it for a celebration. This was close enough. I poured a glass and toasted to the empty room. "To Monday morning," I said aloud, "to truth." Somewhere upstairs, Amara was probably texting Tunde, laughing about her weak husband who'd taken the divorce news so calmly. She had no idea that calm was just preparation. The wine she'd poured on me had washed away the last of my mercy. Tomorrow, she'd drown in the consequences. What would you do if you were Chidi? forgive her, or show her the truth. Drop a comment. If you're hooked on this story, smash that subscribe button for African Tales Vault and turn on notifications. More shocking twists are coming. Where are you watching from? Let me know below. Monday morning arrived like Judgment Day. I woke at 5 a.m., showered, and dressed in my best suit, a custom-made navy three-piece from a Savile Row tailor in London. Amara had never seen it. She'd never seen most of my actual wardrobe because I'd spent 2 years deliberately looking unsuccessful around her. Solomon was waiting with the car, not the Honda this time, but my black Mercedes S-Class with tinted windows. Another thing I'd kept hidden. "Today is the day, sir?" he asked as we drove through Lagos's early morning streets. "Today is the day. She will be shocked." "That's the point, Solomon." We arrived at Zenith Continental headquarters at 6:30 a.m. The 40-story glass building dominated Victoria Island's skyline, its name etched in silver letters that caught the rising sun. My building, my company, my legacy. Marcus met me in my private elevator, the one that went straight to the executive floor without stopping. "Everything is ready, Chairman," he said. Marcus was 52, former military, and had been with me since I'd started Zenith Continental 6 years ago with inherited money from my late father's investments. Only 5 people in the world knew I owned the company. Soon, Amara would be the 6th. "The board is assembled?" I asked. "Yes, sir. All 9 members. Your lawyer is there too with the documents. And Mrs. Okafor, her meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. She confirmed attendance yesterday." Perfect. I had 2.5 hours to prepare the trap. My office occupied the entire top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lagos's harbor, African art worth millions, a desk made from 200-year-old Iroko wood. This was where I'd spent my days for 6 years, while Amara thought I was struggling in a small architecture firm I actually just used as a front. The architecture firm was real but tiny. 3 employees, modest projects, barely profitable. Exactly enough to convince Amara I was failing while I was actually building an empire. At 8:45 a.m., my assistant buzzed. "Sir, Mrs. Okafor is in the lobby. Show her to conference room A. Tell her the executive team will be with her shortly." "Yes, sir." I watched on the security monitors as Amara entered the building. She wore a cream pantsuit, her hair pulled back in an elegant bun, her heels clicking confidently on the marble floor. She looked like success. She looked like power. She looked like she owned the world. At 8:55, I walked down to the conference room. The board members were already inside. 9 of Lagos's most powerful business leaders, all sworn to secrecy about my identity. Through the glass wall, I could see Amara sitting at the long table, checking her phone, smiling at something Tunde had probably texted. Ngozi stood beside me, her briefcase heavy with documents. "Ready?" she asked. "More than ready." I opened the door. Amara looked up and her face went through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, shock, and finally horror. "Chidi? Why are you?" She stood up, looking around like she'd walked into the wrong room. "Where's the executive team?" "You're looking at him," I said calmly, taking the seat at the head of the table. "Good morning, Mrs. Okafor. Welcome to Zenith Continental Group." The board members filed in behind me, taking their seats. Amara's eyes darted between us, trying to understand. "This is a mistake," she said. "I'm supposed to meet with the company executives." "You are," Marcus said from his seat at my right hand. "I'm Marcus Okonkwo, Chief Operating Officer. This is our chairman and majority shareholder, Chidi Okafor. I believe you know him." The color drained from Amara's face. "Chairman?" 55% ownership, I said. "I founded this company 6 years ago. The same year we got married, actually. You remember, don't you? You said you wanted to marry a man with vision." She sat down slowly like her legs wouldn't hold her. "You own Zenith Continental?" "I am Zenith Continental. But you're an architect. You have that small firm. You struggle to pay the bills." "The firm is a front," I interrupted. "A convenient cover that let me move through Lagos without attention while building something real." "The struggling was an act, Amara. A test, actually." "A test?" Her voice cracked. "To see who you really were. to see if the woman I married loved me or what she thought I could provide. I leaned forward. You failed. Silence filled the room. Outside, Lagos hummed with morning traffic, oblivious to the earthquake happening on the 40th floor. So this was all a lie? Amara's hands trembled. Our whole marriage? No. My love for you was real, but your love for me was always conditional. You loved successful Chidi, or who you thought successful Chidi would be. When you decided I wasn't successful enough, you found Tunde. You humiliated me publicly. You threw wine in my face and called me a nobody. I didn't know. Exactly. You didn't know because you never bothered to know. You never asked questions. Never wondered how we afforded our lifestyle on a struggling architect's salary. You just assumed I was weak and you were strong. Ngozi opened her briefcase and slid a folder across the table to Amara. Your contract with Zenith Continental Group. Perhaps you'd like to review pages 32 through 37 this time. Amara's hands shook as she opened the folder. I watched her read, watched her eyes widen, watched the moment she understood. This says, you have control over my company's operations? Any partner found operating in conflict of interest forfeits operational autonomy, I quoted from memory. You signed it Friday night while celebrating with your lover. Tunda Fashola, correct? That's none of your... It's absolutely my business when you're conducting an affair while partnering with my company. That's the conflict of interest that triggers Clause 32B. You can't do this. I already have. As of 9 a.m. this morning, Zenith Continental assumes management control of Okafor Development Corporation for the duration of our 15-year contract. Your board is dissolved. Your decision-making authority is suspended. You'll receive your payments as outlined, but you'll effectively be an employee of your own company. Reporting to my appointed managers. Amara's face had gone from pale to gray. You're taking everything? I'm taking what the contract allows. What you agreed to without reading because you were too busy celebrating my humiliation. The video, she whispered. You knew it would go viral. You knew it would prove your contempt for me? Yes, my lawyer has compiled quite a case for defamation based on that video and your subsequent social media posts calling me jealous and controlling. Add adultery to the mix. I shrugged. The divorce you wanted so badly is going to be very expensive for you, Amara. She stood up suddenly, her chair scraping back. You bastard! You lying, manipulative bastard! I'm the bastard? My voice stayed calm, but something hot and angry burned in my chest. I gave you everything. I loved you. I supported your dreams. And you threw wine in my face in front of 300 people because you thought I wasn't worthy of you. Because you weren't. You were supposed to be somebody. You were supposed to be somebody like Tunda? I stood now too, meeting her eyes across the table. Tell me, does he know that the deal he encouraged you to sign gives me complete control over your career? Did he mention that when you were in his bed this weekend? Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. How did you? I know everything, Amara. I've always known. I just waited to see how far you go. Tears started in her eyes. Real tears. Not the manipulative kind she used when she wanted something. These were tears of rage and loss and broken pride. What do you want? She asked finally. You've won. You've destroyed me. What do you want? I sat back down and folded my hands on the table. What did I want? Revenge was sweet, yes, but hollow. Looking at her now, this woman I'd loved, this woman who'd become a stranger, I felt nothing but exhaustion. I want you to understand what you lost, I said quietly. Not the money, not the company. Me, the man who would have given you the world if you'd just seen him. Really seen him. Chidi. She reached across the table, but I pulled back. The meeting is over, Mrs. Okafor. You'll receive further instructions from my team regarding your company's new management structure. I suggest you review all contracts carefully from now on. Please, can we talk? Alone? No. Chidi, I made a mistake. I see that now. But please, we can fix this. We can... I poured my heart into this marriage for 8 years. You poured wine on me. We're done. Security appeared at the door. I'd buzzed them silently. Please escort Mrs. Okafor to her car. You're throwing me out? Disbelief colored her voice. I'm showing you the door, just like you showed me the door Friday night. As security led her away, she turned back one last time. I loved you, she said. No, I replied. You loved what you thought I should be. You never loved who I was. The door closed behind her. The conference room fell silent. 9 board members sat uncomfortably, witnesses to the end of my marriage. Well, Marcus said finally, that was necessary, and I finished. Is the press release ready? Yes, sir. Announcing Zenith Continental's acquisition of management rights over Okafor Development. Should we send it? Send it. And make sure every business publication in Lagos gets a copy. By noon, the news would be everywhere. By evening, the social media that had mocked me would be analyzing how struggling architect Chidi Okafor had played the longest game in Lagos business history. I returned to my office and stood at the window, watching the city below. Somewhere out there, Amara was driving home, her world shattered. Somewhere out there, Tunda Fashola was probably getting a panicked phone call. My phone rang. Mama. Chidi, the news is everywhere. They're saying you own Zenith Continental. They're saying, it's all true, Mama. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to be invisible, to see the truth. And did you find it? I thought about Amara's face when she'd realized everything. Yes, I found exactly what I suspected. Are you happy now? Was I? I'd won. Completely. Totally. But standing in my 40-story tower, master of everything I'd built, I felt more alone than I had in the moment she poured that wine on me. I don't know, Mama, I admitted. Ask me tomorrow. She sighed. Revenge is cold comfort, my son. Remember that. After she hung up, I stood at the window until the sun set over Lagos, painting the city in shades of gold and red, the colors of triumph and blood. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Amara's company to reorganize. Her lawyer would fight back. Tunde would try to interfere. But tonight I just stood and watched the city I'd conquered and wondered if winning was supposed to feel this empty. This story is getting intense. What do you think Amara will do next? Will she fight back or accept defeat? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, please subscribe to African Tales Vault for more dramatic African tales that will leave you speechless. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss Chapter 4. The explosion hit Tuesday morning. By 6 a.m., every business publication in Nigeria had the story. Mystery architect revealed as Zenith Continental mastermind, Chidi Okafor. The silent billionaire who fooled Lagos. Wife humiliates husband at her own company's acquisition. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Forbes Africa wanted an interview. CNN in Africa was camped outside the building. Even international outlets were picking up the story. The African businessman who'd hidden his fortune while his wife publicly destroyed him. But the real storm started when Amara fought back. She went on Linda Ikeji TV that morning, tears streaming down her face, telling a very different story. My husband deceived me for years, she said to the camera, her voice trembling. He psychologically manipulated me, made me believe he was struggling while he was secretly wealthy. He gaslit me into thinking I was the problem, that I was too ambitious, too successful. This is financial abuse. This is control. This is domestic manipulation. I watched the interview from my office, Marcus standing beside me. She's good, Marcus observed. She's making you the villain. She's terrified, I corrected, and desperate people are dangerous. By noon, Dacian Justice for Amara was trending. Women's groups were calling me an abuser. Social media had turned me from humiliated husband to manipulative villain in 24 hours. Feminist blogs were writing think pieces about men who hide money to control their wives. Her PR team had done their work well, but they'd made one mistake. They'd made this a public battle, and in public battles, evidence matters. I called Ngozi. Release everything. Sir? Every piece of evidence we have about her affair, every screenshot of her text with Tundi, every hotel receipt, every social media post she deleted, every private conversation we documented, all of it. That will destroy her completely. She chose to make this public. Now she deals with public consequences. By 3 p.m., the internet had new evidence. Amara's deleted Instagram stories from the past 8 months showing her with Tunde at romantic locations while I was supposedly at home. Text messages discussing how to handle the Chidi situation. WhatsApp conversations where she called me weak, pathetic, a burden. One text to her best friend Chioma. I'm just waiting for the right time to leave him. The house is in both names, so I'll take half. His architecture firm is worthless anyway. I'll clean up nicely while leveling up to Tunde. The internet turned again, faster than before, harsher. Amara Isalir started trending. The same women's groups that had defended her started questioning her narrative. Her interview was reanalyzed, picked apart, exposed as manipulation. My phone rang, unknown number. Chidi, we need to talk. Tunde Fashola's voice tight with anger. Mr. Fashola, how unexpected. Cut the bullshit. You're destroying Amara on purpose. I'm defending myself with facts. There's a difference. You're using your money and power to crush her. That's abuse. I'm using evidence to counter her lies. That's justice. Tell me, Tunde, did you know she was married when you started sleeping with her? Or did she tell you we were separated? Silence, then. She said you two were basically over. We lived in the same house. We were very much married. She was using you while planning to divorce me and take half of what she thought I had, which wasn't much. How does it feel to be manipulated? She loves me. She loves your money and status, just like she loved mine, or what she thought was mine. The difference is, I was real. You're just convenient. You're bitter. I'm honest, and here's some honesty for you. The $800 million deal she signed, it's contingent on her company's reputation remaining intact. Any scandal that damages her brand gives Zenith Continental the right to terminate the contract. How do you think her brand is holding up right now? I heard him breathing heavily. You wouldn't. I would. I've spent 2 years building the perfect trap. You and Amara just walked into it together. Enjoy the consequences. I hung up. Wednesday brought lawyers. Amara's legal team filed for an emergency injunction to stop my takeover of her company. They claim fraud, coercion, and contractual deception. We met in court, Lagos High Court, Judge Adeyemi presiding. Amara sat across from me in the courtroom, her face hard and cold. Tunde sat behind her in the gallery, his hand on her shoulder. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, Mr. Okafor deliberately hid his wealth from his wife, creating a false impression of financial struggle. He then used this deception to manipulate her into signing a contract that was fundamentally unfair and... Judge Adeyemi interrupted. Did Mrs. Okafor have legal representation when signing the contract? Yes, but did she read the contract before signing? Amara's lawyer hesitated. The contract was complex, Your Honor. Mrs. Okafor relied on her understanding of the partnership's basic terms. So she didn't read it, the judge said flatly. Did Mr. Okafor physically force her to sign? No, but psychological manipulation. Did Mr. Okafor break any laws by maintaining financial privacy in his marriage? Your Honor, Nigerian law requires financial disclosure in marriage, only in divorce proceedings or specific legal situations. Mr. Okafor was not obligated to disclose his business holdings to his spouse unless relevant to a legal matter. Judge Adeyemi looked at Ngozi. Defense? Ngozi stood smoothly. Your Honor, Mrs. Okafor is a sophisticated businesswoman with her own legal team. She signed a contract without proper due diligence and now regrets the consequences. This is not grounds for nullification. Additionally, Mrs. Okafor conducted a lengthy extramarital affair while married to my client, as evidenced by the documentation we've submitted. She then publicly humiliated him in front of 300 witnesses, causing significant reputational damage. If anyone has grounds for grievance here, it's Mr. Okafor. The judge reviewed the documents silently. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, business people, curious onlookers. This case had become Lagos's biggest scandal in years. Finally, Judge Adeyemi spoke. Mrs. Okafor, you are a businesswoman. You signed a contract. You failed to read its terms carefully. You cannot now claim deception simply because the contract's owner happens to be your husband. As for the personal matters between you, Those belong in divorce court, not commercial court. Injunction denied. The gavel fell. Amara's face crumbled. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us both. Amara's lawyer gave a statement about appealing. Tunde tried to shield her from cameras. I gave my own statement, brief and devastating. I love my wife. I supported her dreams. She responded by publicly humiliating me and conducting an affair. Now she wants sympathy because the consequences continue 1137. Aim of her actions have arrived. I hope this teaches everyone a valuable lesson about treating people with dignity, regardless of what you think they're worth. That night I sat in my study with a glass of whiskey, watching the news coverage. My mother called. "You're winning," she said. "Why don't you sound happy?" "Because winning doesn't bring her back, Mama. The woman I loved is gone. This stranger wearing her face, I don't know her." "Then why keep fighting?" "Because she started it, and I'm going to finish it." Thursday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant buzzed. "Sir, Mrs. Okafor is here. She says it's urgent." "Send her in." Amara entered my office slowly, looking around at the space she'd never seen, her husband's secret kingdom. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the week's battles. "Nice office," she said quietly. "How long have you worked here?" 6 years, since before we got married. "And I never knew." She sat down across from my desk. "I never asked, did I?" "No, you never did." "I came to apologize." I set down my pen. "For what, specifically?" "Everything. The wine, the affair, the way I treated you, the things I said." Her voice cracked. "I was cruel, Chidi. I was ungrateful. I was blind." "Yes, you were. Can you forgive me?" I studied her face. This woman I'd shared a bed with, a life with, dreams with. "I don't know." "That's fair." She wiped her eyes. "I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I lost. Not the money. You. The man who loved me enough to test me, even though the test would break us." "The test didn't break us, Amara. Your choices did." "I know." She stood up. "I'm dropping the lawsuit. I'm accepting the contract terms. I'll work under Zenith Continental's management for the 15 years. I'll rebuild my reputation if I can. But I need to know something." "What?" "Was any of it real? Did you ever really love me? Or was this all just a long game?" I stood and walked to the window, looking out at Lagos. "I loved you more than you'll ever know. That's why this hurts so much." "Then is there any chance?" "No." I turned to face her. "You made your choice. You chose Tunde. You chose pride. You chose to humiliate me. Those choices have consequences." "I left him." She said it quickly, desperately. "Yesterday. I told him we were over." "Because he's not as wealthy as you thought? Or because you realize you need me now?" Her silence was answer enough. "Go home, Amara," I said wearily. "Start over. Build something new. Be better. But do it away from me." She left quietly and I was alone again in my tower, master of everything except the thing I'd wanted most. A wife who'd love me for who I was, not what I had. Friday afternoon, Solomon drove me to my mother's house in Surulere. She made pepper soup and we ate in comfortable silence. "You've destroyed her," Mama said finally. "Completely. She destroyed herself. I just helped the truth come out." "And now? What comes after revenge?" I thought about that question. What did come after? I'd won the battle. Amara's company was mine to control. Her reputation was in tatters. Tunde had distanced himself publicly. My own wealth was now common knowledge. No more hiding, no more tests. But I'd lost my marriage. I'd lost the woman I'd loved. I'd lost years of my life to this elaborate deception. "I don't know, Mama," I admitted. "I honestly don't know." She patted my hand. "Then it's time to find out. This chapter is closed. Time to write a new one." That night, I stood on my office balcony, 40 stories above Lagos, and made a decision. Revenge was done. Amara had learned her lesson. So had I. Time to move forward. Time to discover who Chidi Okafor really was when he wasn't performing, pretending, or planning revenge. Time to find out if the man who'd won everything could learn to live with having lost the one thing that had ever truly mattered. The end was coming. But what waited on the other side? Oh my, the drama is reaching its peak. What should Chidi do next? Rebuild or walk away from everything? Comment below. If you're invested in this story, show African Tales Vault some love. Subscribe, like, and share. Turn on those post notifications because Chapter 5 is going to blow your mind. Let me know where you're watching from. 3 months later, Lagos had moved on to newer scandals. Amara's company survived under Zenith Continental's management. I'd installed competent people, paid her fairly, and stayed invisible. Her reputation slowly rebuilt itself, though she'd never be the golden girl of Lagos business again. She'd learned humility the hardest way possible. I'd learned something too. Victory without purpose is just noise. I sat in my office on a Thursday afternoon, reviewing proposals for a new project, affordable housing for Lagos's middle class, something that actually mattered. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Okafor, this is Dr. Adiola from Lagos General Hospital. You're listed as emergency contact for Mrs. Amara Okafor. My blood went cold. What happened? She was in a car accident this morning. She's stable, but she's been asking for you. I was in Solomon's car within 5 minutes, racing through Lagos traffic toward the hospital. Whatever had happened between us, she was still my wife, technically. The divorce papers sat unsigned on both our lawyers' desks, neither of us able to take the final step. Lagos General smelled like antiseptic and desperation. I found Amara in a private room, her head bandaged, her arm in a cast, but alive. Kioma sat beside her bed, and when she saw me, she stood up. Thank God you came, Kioma said. She's been unconscious mostly, but when she woke up, your name was the first thing she said. I sat down by the bed. Amara's eyes fluttered open. Chidi? Her voice was weak. I'm here. I thought I was going to die. Tears streaked down her face, and all I could think about was you, about us, about how I wasted everything. Don't talk. Rest. No, I need to say this. She gripped my hand with her good arm. These 3 months have been hell, not because of the business or the scandal, but because I finally understood what I lost. Not your money, not your company, you. The man who knew me completely and loved me anyway. The man I threw away because I was too blind and proud to see what I had. Amara, I was wrong about everything. Success isn't money or status or deals. Success is having someone who sees you on your worst day and stays anyway. You stayed through my worst. I didn't stay through yours. I created your worst. I'm so sorry, Chidi. I'm so impossibly sorry. I looked at this woman, broken, humbled, real in a way she hadn't been in years. I'm sorry too. For what? You did nothing wrong. I tested you. I set a trap. I let my hurt turn into a need for revenge. Yes, you were cruel, but I responded with cruelty of my own. We both failed each other, Amara. This wasn't all your fault. She closed her eyes. I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe, but you're going to get it anyway. The words surprised me even as I said them. Not because you earned it, but because I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of revenge. I'm tired of winning battles and losing myself. So what happens now? I thought about that. What did happen now? We couldn't go back. The trust was shattered, the innocence lost. But maybe we could go forward. Differently, honestly. We heal, I said finally. Separately, you rebuild your life. I figure out who I am without the disguise. And maybe if we're lucky, we find our way back to being friends. Not lovers, not spouses, but people who survived something terrible and came out better for it. I wanted us to be forever. We are forever, just not the way we planned. We're forever changed by each other. That counts. She squeezed my hand. Thank you for coming. Always. That never changed. I stayed until she fell asleep, then left the hospital as evening painted Lagos in shades of orange and purple. Outside, Solomon waited by the car. How is she, sir? Alive, healing. We both are, I think. The drive home was quiet. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. The board approved your affordable housing project. 50,000 units over 5 years. This will change lives, Chairman. change lives. That felt more important than revenge, more important than pride, more important than proving I was worth something to a woman who couldn't see me. That night I called my mother. I let her go today, Mama. Really let her go. How do you feel? Lighter, sad, but lighter. That's wisdom, my son. Knowing when to hold on and when to let go. Was it worth it, all of this? Only you can answer that. But I'll tell you what I see. A man who learned the difference between winning and being right. That's something. After we hung up, I stood on my balcony overlooking Lagos. Somewhere in this city of 20 million people, Amara was healing from an accident that had nearly killed her. Somewhere, Tunde was probably with a new woman, having moved on the way shallow men do. Somewhere, my mother was praying for me the way she'd done my whole life. And here I was, 40 stories above it all, finally understanding that height doesn't equal happiness. My phone buzzed again, an email from Amara's lawyer. Mrs. Okafor requests amendment to divorce proceedings. She's willing to accept a simple dissolution with no financial claims beyond what was originally hers. She also requests that her company remain under Zenith Continental management indefinitely, stating you're a better manager than she ever was. She wants no further legal battles. She just wants peace. I replied, accepted, and tell her I'm releasing her company back to full independence after 12 months of transition. She's earned the chance to rebuild on her own terms. It wasn't mercy. It wasn't revenge. It was just fair. She learned her lesson. I'd learned mine. Time to stop the cycle. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Amara and I met one last time to sign the papers in Ngozi's office. We sat across from each other, older than we'd been a year ago, wiser than we'd been a lifetime ago. So this is it, Amara said, pen hovering over the document. New beginnings, for both of us. I heard about your housing project. 50,000 units. That's incredible, Chidi. It's what matters, helping people, making a real difference. Revenge is exhausting. Creation is energizing. She signed. I signed. We were officially no longer husband and wife. Can I tell you something? She asked as we walked out of the office together. Always. You were the best man I ever knew, and the worst thing I ever did was not see it until it was too late. You're wrong about one thing. What's that? It's not too late to be better. For your next relationship, your next chapter. You learned the lesson, Amara. Now live it. We parted ways on the street outside the law office. She to her car, me to mine. No dramatic goodbyes, no tears. Just two people who'd loved each other and hurt each other, finding the grace to let go. That evening, I had dinner with my mother in Surulere. She made my favorite, jollof rice and grilled fish. You look different, she observed. Peaceful. I feel different, like I finally understand what Papa used to say. A man who seeks revenge should dig two graves. I spent a year digging. Time to fill them both in and plant something new. Your father would be proud of you, not for the revenge, but for knowing when to stop. What do I do now, Mama? I have more money than I can spend. A company that runs itself. No wife, no family of my own. What's the point of all this success? She smiled. Now you find your purpose, real purpose. Not proving yourself, not testing people, but actually making the world better. You have the resources. Use them for good. That night, alone in my study, I made a list. Expand the affordable housing project to other African cities. Create a scholarship fund for struggling architecture students. Build community centers in Lagos's poorest neighborhoods, fund women's business education programs. Live honestly. No more disguises. No more tests. The wine Amara had poured on me had washed away more than my dignity. It had washed away my illusions about love, about success, about what truly mattered. I'd started this journey wanting to prove my worth to a woman who couldn't see me. I'd ended it proving my worth to myself, and that finally was enough. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Okafor, this is Amara. I know we're divorced now, but I wanted you to know. I started therapy. I'm working on myself, and I'm teaching a class at the university about ethical business practices. I'm using our story, anonymously, to help young women understand that success without character is just noise. Thank you for teaching me that. Even if it hurt, especially because it hurt. I replied, proud of you. Keep going. The best revenge is living well. Prove me right. She sent back a single emoji, a seedling. New growth. I smiled and poured myself one last glass of whiskey, not in celebration or mourning, but in acknowledgement. This chapter was closed. A new one was beginning. From my window, Legos sparkled like scattered stars. My city, my home, my future. I'd come a long way from the man who'd stood humiliated at a party, wine dripping down his face, planning elaborate revenge. I'd achieved that revenge, tasted its bitter satisfaction, and discovered it wasn't enough. But this, building something good, helping people, living with purpose, this felt like enough. This felt like victory of a different kind. The kind that didn't require anyone else to lose, just everyone to grow. And that, finally, was the greatest success of all. The end. If this tale touched your soul, dear viewer, please leave a like and subscribe to African Tales Vault. Each story we tell carries wisdom from our modern times, and with your support, we can continue sharing these powerful tales with the world. What did you learn from Chidi and Amara's story? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to choose between revenge and peace? Between winning and healing? Share your story. Your words might help someone else walking this difficult path. And remember, true success isn't about what others think you're worth. It's about knowing your own value, living with integrity, and choosing grace over bitterness, even when bitterness feels justified. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until the next tale, may you choose wisdom over revenge, and may you always know your true worth. Subscribe, like, share, and turn on notifications for more compelling African stories that challenge us to be better. Where are you watching from? Lagos, New York, London, Jamaica, Kingston, Toronto? Let us know in the comments. Your support means everything to us at African Tales Vault. God bless you, and see you in the next story.